This is my 1993 Toyota Landcruiser, and in the past couple episodes we removed the engine, tore it apart, rebuilt it with brand new parts, and reinstalled it. And today we're finally going to get through the rest of this never-ending to-do list and hopefully get this thing fired up. The first thing we need to do is start reinstalling the front clip, and we'll start with this front radiator support brace. The whole front of the Landcruiser comes off, by the way, so that you can remove the engine easier and also access all of the parts in this area. I'm just going to start reinstalling things one at a time. The AC condenser, transmission cooler, hood latch, headlights, bumper, grille, wiring, the list goes on. Just everything that goes in this area is going to be reinstalled. A lot of things get removed when you pull a motor out, and you don't realize how much work is left after you get the motor back into the truck. You just want to start this thing up and see all your hard work pay off, but man, all these odds and ends really take up a lot of time. We are getting dangerously close to firing up this Landcruiser for the first time, and I feel like I can finally see the light at the end of an extremely long tunnel. I have everything bolted up and ready to go. The only remaining item is to install that transfer case, which you remember in the last video is that I was waiting for some parts before I installed it, so that's why we dropped the motor and the trans in without the transfer case. Well, those parts finally showed up, and now I can install a transfer case and fire this thing up, and hopefully it'll have no issues at all. I won't lie to you guys, I feel pretty nervous about it. There's a lot of time, effort, energy, and money tossed into this build so far, and of course I've turned every bolt in that engine, so lots to go wrong. I don't think anything will, but I'm definitely feeling a little bit nervous. I'm never gonna believe that that's there. I need to mark it with a pen. Yeah, I know myself. I don't believe it. I know it's there. It's marked with the paint. These are the ones when you were tightening, they got super tight, right?
Towards the end, yeah, the other
yeah.
Well, the outside ones didn't.
Yeah, the outside ones, they like feel cross-threaded or something when they're not.
Yeah.
It's really weird. What we'll do is we'll put a jack stand under the... There's no room really, actually, to put a jack stand. We're gonna wing it, I guess. We're gonna have to route that wiring harness back too. Hopefully we can see everything. Okay, we are kind of crooked. We're gonna have to kind of tilt this thing like that, like it needs to clock. So if it were at
clockwise.
Yeah, it needs to go clockwise, probably 30 degrees actually. That's what it looks like. All right, so the current dilemma, as you can see, we're really close to getting that thing lined up, but the plate on the bottom of the transmission jack is hitting this transfer case mount. So we're gonna take this mount off. We should be able to push this up to those splines and get the transfer case installed. We'll just keep on kind of wiggling this thing forward. Okay, I'll give it a little bit more. It's on, it's in. Like the first couple, like no issue.
Doesn't really make sense.
What are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
Really, just force this thing in there, I guess. Wow, we didn't spill it.
Watch your goddamn mouth.
I know. Oh, it's coming out too. Okay, hold on. All right, so I greatly underestimated how much work was left on this. It wasn't just the transfer case, it was the exhaust, the ECU, the power steering, the automatic transmission shifter, the transfer case lever, and a bunch of other stuff. So right now we're finishing up the ECU, and then we'll be able to hopefully start this thing up. So we're cranking the motor over to make sure that nothing's binding up and there's no issues with the rotating assembly. And if this thing's hard to turn, but once we get it turned over and we know nothing's binding up, we can fire this thing up. All right. I'm scared. That's a good sign. It sounds good when it's cranking over. It sounds like it's in time and everything. Probably just gonna get fuel up into the fuel rail. Dude, that was like the most seamless first start ever. Oh shit, I thought that was the car. What was that, dude? Why is he doing that? It scared me. Smooth out, return back to idle. The thing sounds good, man. All right, let's turn this thing off and check for leaks of any sort, and then fire it back up and check it again. We're getting a little bit of smoke off the exhaust manifold over here. I don't know if you can see the camera shaking a little bit. I kind of have the adrenaline going through me, but yeah, you can see the smoke kind of coming out from the exhaust, all the grease on it and everything. Of course, the engine's getting hot and starting to burn stuff off of it. Check under it for leaks again, and it's not leaking, which is good. Gonna have to go through, get the power steering all bled, hook up the drive shafts, they're not on there yet, and then take this thing for a test drive. Just like nothing. Yeah. All right, let's check if it goes in gear. It's in reverse right now. Maybe if I hit the gas, it'll spin. Let me get a flashlight. Go ahead. All right, so we just got the power steering bled. It was making some weird knocking noises. Kind of thought it was the motor at first, but now that this is all bled out, everything sounds great. The reverse issue that we were seeing was just because there wasn't enough fluid in the transmission. So if I put this in reverse now, have to hold the brake to put it into reverse. But if I put it in reverse now, and I go under there, you'll see the output flanges spinning. So I'm thinking that maybe if you could imagine the valve body and the transmission, maybe the fluid gets to reverse last or something, because after we topped off the fluid, everything was looking good. But anyway, as you can see, it's pouring rain out here and the drive shafts aren't on, so probably gonna wrap it up for the night. get these drive shafts on tomorrow and then take it for a test drive. All right, guys, we are officially on the maiden voyage of the Landcruiser. I got everything all bolted up, the drive shafts and everything else, so that I could drive the truck. I did not put the sway bar on because it has bad bushings. I'm gonna have to replace them anyway. I didn't want to put it on, just have to take it back off. But I mean, as you can see, this thing runs fantastic. I was super surprised on how fast it started up, as you guys saw in that last clip there. Normally when you rebuild a motor and you rip a whole powertrain out and put it back in, you're not left without issues upon first start. Typically you're going to have some sort of problem when you start it the first time. Now there are a couple of things that I noticed. I'm obviously going to have to replace all the radiator hoses. I did notice that a couple of those are leaking. They look like they might burst any second, but just a lot of superficial things to replace. Nothing serious. Everything's working absolutely flawlessly. And the transmission shifts really well after we added more fluid to it. I think because I took the torque converter out and drained the torque converter, that I needed to put a lot more fluid in it after the rebuild. So I did top off the converter before I reinstalled it, but still had to put in like, I don't know, man, like 13, 14 quarts to make this thing happy with the transmission. I just went and got some gas for it because it was getting really low, and we're driving it back home now on a main street, which is kind of nerve-wracking, but the oil pressure looks good. We're not overheating, and I am running this thing on water right now because I didn't want to put coolant in the new motor because I plan to remove the rear heater, as I said, and I don't want to, just install coolant and have to take it back out. Plus I'm going to drain this all anyway. Didn't want to waste money on the coolant, but we're not overheating. As I said, the oil pressure looks great. Wow, look at that sick first gen right there. That thing's nice, huh? It's on 37s. Yeah. Anyway, guys, that's gonna wrap up this whole series, I guess. We pulled the whole motor out, rebuilt it, put it back in, and everything works perfectly fine. We have a little bit of odds and ends to work out, but overall, great success. So thank you everybody for following the channel throughout this series, liking the videos, and leaving comments. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.
Here we go, at the top of